The late Zig Ziglar once said, "You can get anything you want in life as long as you help other people get what they want in life." One of my mentors said he didn't know the answers to the questions. He just knew the questions. On today's show, I'm going to interview one of my longtime friends, in fact, longtime business partner for many years, Mike Koenigs. We're going to talk about how you can ask great questions and get paid really well to help businesses and people change their lives. EdTalks Live is next. Hey, welcome to the show. My name's Ed Rush, 5-time #1 bestselling author, your host for the most positive place on the planet for insanely implementable ideas. I'm here in Mike Koenigs' studio talking about how you can get to the cash. We're going to talk about how you can ask great questions and get people to pay you a lot of money because you were smart enough to ask good questions. Before I do that, let me just say, jump in on the right-hand side on chat. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do. That's below you on Facebook as well. Mike, come on in, man. It's good to see you. This is the fastest introduction of a guest that I've ever done. This is our second time together on the show, and it's only maybe the 4,000th time that we've been in a studio together. So
true that.
For those of you who don't know Mike, 11-time bestselling author, right? Is that right?
13.
13.
Not, yeah.
God, and he's working on his next book. Sales expert, a business expert, a guy who's helped thousands of businesses and done some of the biggest launches in the information product space as well. So we're going to talk about your transition because you're not doing information products anymore. You're actually helping people achieve incredible breakthrough. And it all starts with the questions that you ask. So we're going to go there in a minute, but welcome, dude. It's good to see you.
Thanks. Nice to be here. Great to be here. And thank you. Good to see you in all this crazy time that we're living in right now. Bam, bam, bam.
I saw that the Minnesota government said, even if you're at home on a Zoom meeting, you should be wearing a mask. So you'll notice Mike and I, we must have skipped that memo.
Oh, for the love of God and all things holy.
We may actually divert. And if you've seen Mike and I before, you know that we staying on topic sometimes can be a challenge, but we're gonna have fun today. Before I do that, I want to say hello to some of our friends who just jumped in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Barry, what's up, man?
Woohoo!
Barry Gamar from Palm Springs. Barry was in here at 30 minutes early. Hello, Wendell Buggs from Texas. David Zetz, who is my guest next Tuesday's show. What's up, Brad? Hey, by the way, welcome, Brad, to Top Gun consultant Linda. hey, hi, Mide.
Look at that. And you know who else is here?
Gene
Naftulia, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going, brother? Yeah.
I talked to Gene on the phone. He posted something on Twitter, and he said, in Portland, if we could just give everyone a participation medal, maybe they'll all just go home. I'm like, dude, I think that was pretty funny. I gave him a call. Hey, Jim, good to see you as well. By the way, some of you are getting this in the mail. This is the Top Gun Consultant Manual. The website, by the way, is right below. Let me see if I can find it. It's edrush.com/topgun. Jump in there, take a look. The deadline, by the way, is Saturday night. This thing is getting 2-day mailed to you so that you've got it by the time we start our course next Monday. What's up, AJ from LinkedIn? What's going on, man? Welcome to the show. You gotta love it.
Where you? One nice thing that we've got going on. I got approved for LinkedIn Live, and finally,
which requires the head of 10 chickens and some sort of voodoo spell to get LinkedIn to approve.
You would not believe how many goats I had to sacrifice in order to get approved on LinkedIn. But finally, LinkedIn Live. What's great about it is we're using StreamYard. That's the tool. And I also use another tool called Restream.io. But with StreamYard, you're able to do the comments and the posts like you have right now. I see Dr. Bob is on. Look at that. Look at him. Bring him on.
So we've got our LinkedIn crowd that just joined us. Dr. Bob, good to see you as well. Michael Millman, hello.
Hey,
Diana.
All right.
Welcome back. And Delisa, a massively awesome team member here with the team, and she's got it. All right. So next.
Linda.
We're good to go.
Hi, Linda.
So welcome to everybody who's joining us from Facebook, YouTube, and also on LinkedIn. And we do actually stream this to Periscope, although I think there's not a lot of people over there. I think
but you know what? And Michael Bartis is on right now. I haven't seen you in a long time. Peace. Good friend of Ben Wilmore's, good friend of mine. And that's awesome. So it's good to see old friends showing up.
Old friends, as as we're meeting as old friends.
Oh.
So you took, let's get into some of this question
let's get
asking
into
stuff.
the meat and potatoes.
So I, when I first started consulting, so 450 clients later, you've probably had twice that many. So when I started consulting, I thought you needed to have the answers to all the questions. What I realized after a while is actually it starts with asking really great questions.
Right on.
And you do a great job of this, not only in the advising world, helping people, but you do a great job of that in the beginning. In fact, if I'm correct, the first thing you do, even if it's a text message, is ask a question. So let's start there. Let's talk about how you can ask great questions and get people to pay you money for the benefit of helping them.
Right on. Well, here's the best place to begin. So you and I are very, very interested in the psychology of influence. First and foremost, I've always been fascinated by it. And I remember one of the first times I recall watching infomercials on TV in between. I saw the Pocket Fisherman, right? And the Pocket Fisherman by Ron Popeil came out. And he's slicing and he's dicing in cans. And I thought, oh my God, this is so interesting. And I really always loved to watch sales guys at carnivals. We'd go to carnivals, circuses, and I loved the fact that they could command an audience and you could watch half the audience going, weep, 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 weep. I've got, and you'd buy it. And my dad would buy it. You know, he's always a sucker for a good salesman. And later on, I learned that Ed McMahon got his start in Atlantic City on the wharf selling pens. Okay. And then if you fast forward to blue blocker sunglasses, actually, I have my pair right here,
in his pocket.
Right
Look
here.
at that, everybody.
And I saw the original blue blocker sunglasses commercial half hour long.
You can see through people's
You can see
T-shirts.
I can see
with those
auras.
things.
This is the special aura edition of the blue blocker sunglasses. And I think you're a little too Violet-esque today.
I might be.
You might be a little too Violet.
I'm feeling like tomorrow might be a green day.
Okay. Very nice. So what happened is I saw the infomercial and I thought, how can you influence and persuade with video? And that kind of led this thing. So getting back to the deal here, you have to begin by being able to test an offer. So here's where I am on sales psychology right now. And actually, I'm working on a new book on this topic. And I think the key is this. My goal and what I promise when I'm working with people is to create the moment where someone shows up raising their hand saying, I already know I want to work with you. How do we start working together? It seems like I've been looking for someone just like you forever. Okay. That's the perfect scenario.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent of I love you in business language.
Yeah.
So the next step is for you to be able to present an idea, a concept that emotionally hooks your prospect in a way that they see themselves as the hero in a movie with you or your product or service as a guide.
It's great.
Okay.
It's great.
So the next question becomes, what are the fewest number of words over the shortest period of time that will engage someone to wish and want that with you and for you?
Stop.
Okay?
Hang on the movie thing for just a second, because I heard this morning, and I thought it was brilliant. It was actually a guy just speaking to a group of men, and he said, never forget that your story is an epic story. I thought it's interesting, you know, and I'm just driving here in the middle of coronavirus, like everyone's locked down, there's no traffic, and you're like, how does this fit into that? And what he said, he was using the Bible to explain this. And he goes, but think about this. He goes, evil showed up as a snake, not as evil. So they weren't sure. And literally from the beginning, it's this epic story. And you know, when a business owner wakes up in the morning, they're not waking up so that they can go through the drudgery of the day. They want to be part of an epic story. And if you look at some of the big mistakes people make, it's because they took the epicness in the wrong direction, you know?
Yeah.
So if you can engage that in someone's mind and show them how they were made for more than their performance right now, you can get someone to jump over 10 different hoops to come and work with you. And I think that's pretty brilliant.
Yep. So I think the next part of this then is, so what are the fewest number of questions you have to ask that allows someone to engage and tell the story and craft enough information so that you can spit back the right fit movie? And then once this is tested and it works on a one-on-one basis, then your next job is to scale it, right? And that's really what direct response marketing is. And I truly believe that direct response marketing is going to take a complete shift. It already is. So on a side note, we can come back into this, but I'll at least open up one little rabbit hole. I've been doing a ton of work right now with AI and machine learning and analyzing data, large data sets, to figure out clusters. So if you imagine, let's say your target audience, for example, I'll describe like my perfect fit target audience is a business owner that ideally has a net worth around 2 million and above, who's got a $2 million to $100 million company, a check writer, meaning a business owner,
decision maker.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they want one of three things. Either they've had an exit recently and want to reinvent, so they're looking for their next fit. Another one would be an individual that has reached their upper limits in their own business and have realized they're selling to maybe the wrong level of client. And they're like, I want to get out of here. As I like to say, when you outgrow who you are, what you do, why you do it, who you do it for, and you're like, I don't want to answer that effing question one more time, would be a good sign that that's happening.
I'm laughing because you've jumped this three times. I think I've seen you take the next step up. And just so you know, as you're watching, it's okay if you were there. It's just not okay to stay there.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes you just grow as a person. You create the software company and you're working with IT people and you love IT people. And then 10 years later, you're like, I still love IT people, but I'm ready to move on. And that's okay.
Right on. So, and just to go down that little path for a little bit, the messaging for that individual, which spoke to me, you know, like we all go through this, is if you've reached a point where you're actually feeling anxiety, maybe even a touch of depression or full-on depression because you feel trapped, you're stuck on that rabbit wheel, that hamster wheel, and you don't see any way to get off, but you know there's something more for you. Like you feel like you're ready to explode inside. So you're either going to explode inwardly or outwardly. That is a sign that you need a change, and you won't get you out of that. And that's when you really need an advisor and a coach to help you through and help you visualize and see a new version of you and be able to spend all or almost all of your time in your superpower, your unique ability.
So good.
Okay.
Man.
So that message is one of the descriptors that would appeal to that type of person.
Yeah.
So again, it's an internal reinvention where you have a business and you want to reinvent your business, or you want to start all over again. So it's a complete side.
Yeah.
And then the other one is where you want to amplify what you already have and you're ready for your next explosion, but you're not sure where it's going to come from.
So let's take the business owner who knows they're ready to move on. That moment you described, by the way, I've experienced exactly what you're talking about, where you feel like you've been boxed in, but the one that boxed you in was you.
Yep.
And you're like, I can't do this anymore. If I do, I'll explode.
Yep.
So if I'm that person and you're potentially the solution as my coach or advisor, what are the questions you're going to ask me to tease that out? Because I can tell you one or two questions and I will probably unleash whatever it is that I've got holding inside, but it's got to be the right question.
Sure.
What are those?
I will go through right now. I'll call this one of 4 sales processes. Okay. So I mix and match this depending on the business. And the first thing to know is the solution to every problem we face in our lives when we feel confused or overwhelmed is there must be a framework. Okay. So like you and I are both
alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. You just got
by the way, I'm reading George Bush.
This is pure Everclear. I just poured myself
I'm reading Decision Points, which is George Bush's book, and the book starts. He says, "My wife Laura looked at me and said, 'When's the last night you can remember not drinking?'" That's how the book started. I thought, wow. It's a good way to start a book. I thought it was going to be like all puff piece about anyway. So I'm not speaking autobiographically.
No, here, I mean, I'll just flat out say there have been times in my life where, having a bottle of wine every night was normal.
It's back to that because we are talking about this business owner. That's an indicator though. There's something
Yeah.
Is there something you were meant to do? And it's so strong inside of you that unless you medicate, you can't stop thinking about it. So the idea is don't medicate, take yourself in through a set of questions like Mike's going to bring out.
So let's go through the question. So the first thing, now you have to know, now someone is either, they're either pre-framed for this conversation or they're cold. So you have to know if they're cold, they're warm, they're a referral or an existing customer, right? So
warm would be they saw you at an event, they've already talked to you, they already like you. Cold is somebody just introduced you and didn't tell them even how much you cost.
Yes, and if you want, I'll give you like my warm-up video, which is my virtual vision day, which someone will come, like just yesterday. I got a referral from someone who I looked backward and I found someone had started a referral process in 2018, but this guy's finally reaching out now. All right. And I know exactly where he is. He's had experience and he feels like he's not achieving what he wants to achieve. And he's probably tried it out. I don't know this, but I can intuit it, that he's tried and failed a few times. And now he's frustrated.
And he's ready for you.
Yeah. So in that particular case, here's what will happen. And I'll just simulate this conversation, or we can simulate like if it were you.
Yeah.
I'd say, hey, Ed. And here's one other really important thing. This is what I recommend. In fact, demanded of everyone I work with now.
Blue blockers.
Yeah, exactly. You have got to, it would be, it's actually along those lines, as a matter of fact. But seriously, it would be, I don't talk on the phone any longer to anyone when I'm doing a conversation. So
it's all Zoom or face-to-face. So you can see their reaction.
Yep.
Yeah.
More than that. So I need to own your eyes, your eyeballs, your finger balls, your ear balls, and your brain balls.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. And so that's the first thing. And if someone says, well, I can't, I'll be like, then I've already know you're not a right fit and you're probably not coachable.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about that for just a second, because I really like this. I would prefer to be on the phone because I like to walk around. Well, I walk around my yard, I walk around my office. The other day, though, I had a prospect who came to me, one of the biggest names in fitness, actually. And she's reinventing herself. And I said, well, let's just jump on Zoom. And we did the entire conversation on Zoom. And I realized, first of all, it's 10 times better. But the second thing is you seeing the way they react. Like, for example, I said, so what's the biggest thing that you think that's holding you back? And she went, oh, man. And seeing that, I could see all the emotion attached to that too. So I like where you're going with this. Keep going. On.
Okay. So, so what is important here is not only do I own all the aspects, and then there's certain things like I take very copious notes while I'm talking to someone, but I will begin with, before I get started, just so I have a little bit of framework here, what is it that you know about me or heard about me that you believe I can provide if I choose to work with you? Now, so what's important with that is they need to know that
you're the one choosing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I ain't begging for work.
Yeah.
And just because you can stroke a check doesn't mean you're a right fit. In fact, I'm a lot fussier now. In fact, not long ago, I fired 2 clients and I gave them all their money back because they were uncoachable.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This isn't working. I wake up more than 2 days thinking about you, and it's not pleasant.
It's great. By the way, I've done that. It's Dan Kennedy said his was 3, but he said, if I wake up 3 mornings in a row thinking about you and I'm not sleeping with you, you're fired.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
And seriously, if you wake up in the morning and you're thinking about a client, that's the wrong time to be thinking about a client. So it's really good. I like your question as well, because when you ask, what do you know about me? It saves you the time of having to sell somebody on something they're already sold on. So for example, if I say to you, Mike, I already know you're the guy that's going to get me to where I want to go. And I already know you know how to do it. And I already know that you're very expensive. Well, you don't have to cover any of that ground now. They just said it. And I like how you framed that. Right. It's really good.
Nothing better than someone says, I'm not sure I can afford you.
Yeah, that's great. Isn't that great? It really is. I know here's what I like when they say, I know you're worth it. I'm just not sure I can afford you. You're like, yes. When they say I know you're worth it, there's going to be very little price resistance. Now, sometimes it's a way to just figure it out. By the way, I want to jump into chat.
Yeah,
I haven't
one
said...
thing I was going to suggest is let's do some call outs and ask some folks who do you want to attract? Who's your ideal target audience and what industry? Because that'll help us craft the sales conversation.
Great question. So write in chat, who's your ideal client? Who would you like to attract and what industry? Put that in there. I do want to say hello to some of our friends who jumped in quite a bit a while ago. We just been talking. Hello, Andy Broadway. Good to see you as well.
Broadway.
Damian Zamora. What's going on, man? I haven't seen him for a while.
Yeah.
We need to connect, dude. I got an idea for you, by the way, Damian. Mike Semmel, who, by the way, sent me this beautiful coffee mug. It says that you are a self-licking ice cream cone. We've been working for years, both of us actually, in Mike's business to help him create what we call the self-licking ice cream cone. That's when you get paid when you're not there. Okay, so hello, Elizabeth Jackson. Good to see you as well. Love your picture. Gina, late, it's better than never. Hello, Simply Irresistible. Awesome to have you on the show. You were on with me just the other night with Marquetta Breslin. Hello. And Luis says he would like to attract whales in the info product space.
All right.
So
I have a piece of advice for you, Luis. Get out of the info product space. It sucks. Okay. Oh, sorry. Was that too much? But seriously, it doesn't have to. I have a strong opinion about it.
Well, I mean, you and I grew up in the information marketing, really. So, I think you're okay as long as you're in the right group of people. But yeah, I mean, fundamentally, it's not the place to stay. Let's just put it that way. David Zett says, I love that. On my calls, I always start with, so I can place you. How did you hear about me? Good start. Say the thing you said again.
All right.
What did you know about me? How do you say it?
Yeah. So just so I have an understanding, because I'm going to ask you several questions and I really want to get to you, but I'd like to know, what do you know about me and what is it you believe that I can help you with if I decide to work with you?
It's really good.
Okay.
I'm going to do that. I have a call on Monday with somebody who wants to hire me. So I'm going to do that.
Yep. Good. All right. So here's what happens next. It'll be like, okay, great. So the first step, and there are variations. There's several variations on this. Like I said, I've got about 4 different processes that I use. We're going to do one of them today, but I will ask what is known as the R factor question or the Dan Sullivan question, which simply goes, if you and I were to start working together today, and if we met 1 year from today, or it could be 3 years from today, what needs to happen both personally and professionally for you to feel satisfied with your progress? And when they start answering that question, they'll go in and blah, 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 blah. And I'll ask, what else? What else? What else? Because oftentimes somebody goes, oh yeah, there is one more thing. There is one more thing. And again, I am taking very, very, very copious notes at this point, because for what you're really listening to isn't so much their story, but their value system.
Yeah.
And what's important to them. And I'm looking for value words and what kind of operational constraints they think within. Because the reality is we are all stuck and we believe we need to do things a certain way or we're going to lose. And know that what drives so much of us, remember, there's 2 primary emotions. There's love and there's fear. And most people are operating in fear all the time. Yeah. And that is keeping them stuck. And as we age and our neuroplasticity reduces as well, we're going to feel more and more stuck. And you have to exercise and break through that. You have to embrace the suck in order to break through. And I'm also listening for key indicators that will determine whether or not they are coachable.
Yeah.
So that's...
People will literally say, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. That's a coachable mindset. Somebody who says the last 10 consultants and coaches I work with were idiots. That's not. That means you're the next idiot. You know?
And I literally, that was one of the reasons I fired one of these people, because he'd start out every meeting about how someone done him wrong. Hey, why don't you say another, or why don't you sing another somebody done somebody? You
I like the I don't think I was born before that. No. So I also like what else? What else? what else. I think that's brilliant because
Mhm.
sometimes people go surface level for a little while, then they get into the thing they're really frustrated with.
Yeah.
And then you hear them say, and if I don't solve this problem now, I don't think I can go on it. Like that means that there's so much urgency around that problem, which you obviously can use now to get someone to start to take action.
That's right.
By the way, good answers here. Gina says Aviation Pros are her group. Linda says her ideal client is an assistant superintendent and wants teachers to do better with virtual instruction, which is really good right now, by the way. David Zetz wrote the notes down. What do you know about me? And what do you think I can do to help you if I choose to work with you? Love it. Good stuff from Rob and from David. Thank you for a Master Yoda quote. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate.
Hate leads to suffering. Help you, I will. Help you, I will.
So I was watching episode 6 with my kids just the other night, man.
Wow.
The fear will control you. When you are 850 years old, look as good.
No, stop. All right. So back to the questions. This is good. This is good. By the way, write this stuff down as you're watching it. And if you haven't done this already, click the little button over here that says subscribe if you're on YouTube and the bell next to it. It tells you when the shows are on. Back to you.
Ding, 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 ding. All right. And, you know, one of the things that I do, I'll give you a little, I'm going to give you one of the biggest tips that I teach all my clients to do. And that is, I'll ask them, hey, if it's okay with you, I'd like to record this because more than likely you're going to get some really big ideas and nuggets.
Yeah.
And I've found that if we're not capturing that in real time right now, we might miss out on something. So it's okay. Why don't you give me your mobile number right now? And I'm going to send you a link to the replay. And if we get disconnected for any reason, I'll just send you a quick text message. Okay. Now I got the gateway because, and there's a bunch of reasons for this, but so if number one, and then after you've asked question number one, I repeat it and I'll say, so based on what you told me, what you're looking for is blah, blah, blah. And I'm very, very careful to focus on their value words, their phrases and terms. The number one reason why people suck at sales is because they project their own poop
that's right.
on
That's right.
the prospect. And they're like, that's not anything what I said. And the truth is, the real reason why relationships fall apart, businesses fall apart, and people never close is because they're crappy listeners. Period. End of story. End of story. End of story. End of story. And you've got to do some deep work. The more therapy you do, the more ego release. For that matter, it's popular these days. Plant medicine. Why are people doing plant medicine? It's ego erasure. That's effectively what's going on. And deep meditation, deep prayer, any kind of deep spiritual work does that. And I think I cannot recommend that highly enough. Step one is all about what kind of work you've done on you.
I mean, a great start too is, let's say you took the Zoom call and you transcribed it. If you see that the primary subject in the entire conversation is I, we, then you're doing it wrong. And I really like what you said. You said, based on what you told me, even your recommendations are based on the person's communication directly to you. That's very powerful. But one of the phrases I love to use is, based on what you told me, here's what I recommend. It starts with a foundation of what you just heard them say. I really like that.
Right on. Okay. So now we move on into, this is where, again, the world varies, and know that when I'm doing any kind of a sales process for myself or a client, and I'll give by the way, so I recently added a guy who his title, it's Aaron, who works with me. His title is Director of Customer Experience. We don't call him a salesman. I taught him this process, showed it to him. He walked through it, and he had 5 enrollments in 1 week. So this flat out works. And this is like a new guy who has never.
It's a sales role, but you call him Director of Customer Experience because that's how you want him to think about the conversation. Right? Okay.
And he's also responsible for the ongoing. There's certain account representative actions and tasks. And that's just because in my world, I don't like the words. I quit using pitch and close. I use enroll. because this is about a we, not it's not an I thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you need to go on an I and a me hunt with every conversation, whether you're writing it or having a conversation. So let's get into question 2. Question 2 is, what are the dangers facing you today? Now, this can either be a SWOT, SWOT, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. In Dan Sullivan's strategic coach language, he calls it the DOS conversation. You can just look that up online for strategic coach DOS, but it's dangers, opportunities, and strengths. So you want to find out, what are the dangers you're facing right now? The biggest problems, biggest hurdles you have, and you get a big list. And again, what else?
So if you took a DOS and you took the first, you said people are motivated by fear and a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So if you took the first one, the dangers would leverage on the person, what the person's afraid of, right? I'm getting older. Things aren't happening as fast as I want to. I'm running out of time. That would be the dangers, right? But the opportunities would be, I've got this incredible chance to get my message out to the world. That would be them looking towards pleasure. So I think those questions are smart. They leverage both of those things, and everybody's thinking those things as they're going. It's good.
Yep. And the variation of that theme is, what do you want? Why don't you have it yet? But in this, it has to be categorized. And again, you're looking for reasons why they can't and why they believe they can't. Because the truth is, this is, on a energetic and a spiritual level. If you erased physical matter, we are reason-making machines, and we create all kinds of can'ts and rules. You are living in this existence is either heaven or hell based upon your intentional, conscious or unconscious choices you make, right?
Yeah.
We all live in jail, and it's all manufactured BS. It's they're complete lies, and they're habitual traumas that we reinforce inside our echo chamber that we all live inside. Nowadays, we live in the echo chamber that's manufactured by artificial intelligence and social media, that helps reinforce all of our traumas and stupid belief systems that are all nonsensical, ego-driven illusions.
We're just all participating in the same conversation, essentially, that's driven from some belief system that we created when we were 7 years old. And if we only just knew how to connect with each other on a true level, we'd be able to solve our problems like this afternoon.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yep. So back to the framework here, the magic framework. It's again, what are the dangers you're facing? And again, I always what else? And I'm looking at, what are the real dangers? What are the dangers you believe? And what are the real ones? Because we do have realistic limitations. I'm going to run out of cash in 45 days is one of those. And that will also help me determine the urgency. And then I think it's really important that you quantify these. What is that costing you right now in terms of time and money? Okay. And then when we get into the third question, which are the opportunities. Now, there are opportunities that stand in front of you, but also it's the opportunities that are in front of you and you don't have the capabilities or resources to take advantage of those. And 9 times out of 10, it's because I don't have a team. I don't know how.
Yeah.
And again, it is a limiting belief preventing you from thinking you can't access or pay for or find. It's a lack of creativity.
Great. It's great.
It's a lack of teamwork that's preventing you from getting there. But at this point, you are not allowed ever to solve someone's problem. The moment you do that, you are going to break rapport and you are going to be providing free advice.
You're saying in the conversation that happens before you end up getting paid to work with the person, your job is not to solve the problem. It's to diagnose the problem. And it's not to provide the cure just yet. It's to provide essentially the diagnosis. And I think this is brilliant, by the way, how you just described this. And I would just say, back to what you just said, most entrepreneurs think their biggest problem is a resource problem. If only I could get the right person to do this. If only I could find the money to be able to do this. If only I could find the software people to be able to create this. But your problem isn't necessarily a resource. The resources are abundant. It's just you're maybe not connected properly to the resource. That's what coaching is all about. Just showing you the abundance that's set right before you. So keep going. It's
Great.
Good.
All right. So now after we've got again, let's just review. So we've got the future-paced question, which is imagine you and I were here and a year or 3 years from now, what needs to happen? Boom. I want you to imagine a bigger, brighter future for yourself. And the second is the dangers. The third are the opportunities that you can or cannot take advantage of. And the last one is, where are your superpowers? What are your superpowers, or what Dan Sullivan calls unique abilities? But what is it that your superpowers, your products, your organization, and are? Now, again, I'll initially ask, tell me about your organization superpowers. Tell me about yours. We always come down to yours. Okay.
Yeah.
But I want to know what they are. And the way I frame that now is, imagine for a moment that we solved all the danger problems and we were able to take advantage of the opportunities, and cash was abundant. And again, I ask a question within the framework of a perfect world.
Yeah.
So I want them to see themselves inside a movie starring them as the hero, with me and my product and my service as their guide, and what life would be like if they could spend 80 or 90% of their time only doing what they love, what gives them joy and satisfaction, and not the shite work that they're stuck in right now.
Yep.
And I want you to imagine that with me.
So it starts, I love this. So it starts with imagine. What would it be like if the things that you talked about in the dangers were away, but the opportunities were beginning to present themselves? And what would it be like if you were able to spend 80 or 90% of your time each day doing what you love?
Yeah.
That's how the questions go. I love this. All right. So this is called future pacing, by the way, but it's more than that. What it's doing is showing someone what's possible. And this is where, I'll just tell you, this is where most coaches, consultants, and advisors shift into the most meaningless part of the conversation. Most people go, okay, well, you get a day with me, and then you get some calls. And no one woke up this morning thinking, I just need some calls with somebody.
Yeah.
Someone woke up this morning thinking about their vision and their future, which is why I love how you're describing this.
Yeah. And that's something that I will say, like, even earlier today, I was on with a client who we're doing a re-enrollment conversation right now, which, by the way, is a significant investment. It's $250,000 a year to work. And he got stuck on tasking and buying time and thinking about projects. And it's like, I don't sell projects. Okay. That is the worst thing. I sell solutions. I sell money at a discount. I sell time compression. Okay. Now, I can't say it that way. I have to articulate it and package it in such a way that makes sense within someone's value system.
Yeah.
But I did strike out today. Part of it was we had this going on and I didn't have the time
so it's my fault
to imagine into the future. Not at all. It was, what happened was we started down a path, but I remember walking away going, ugh.
Yeah.
Now, I know how to recover from that. And it's always possible to recover from any situation. But let's just review where we are so far.
Well, so first of all, thank you for your transparency, because sometimes because we teach this stuff. And by the way, Mike and I have been teaching this since 2012. I look back at our very first class, our first certification class, 27 people in 2012. So it is nice to hear. Sometimes it doesn't always work out the way you want to. And a conversation is organic. It flows and changes and people say different things. And I like that. So I appreciate that. And one of the ways to get it back is to simply just focus them back on the result, like you were just talking about. So
right
I like
on.
that.
Yeah. So at this point, what we do is, now that I've got the data, I'll say, so I'm going to just repeat what I've heard. And while I do that, I'm going to paint a vision of what life can be like when you and I start working together and when I get my team involved. And at that point, this is when we are crafting the movie, starring them as the hero, and know that this is a we opportunity. Okay. So that way they can visualize it. And there's a lot of so that you can's inserted in there, and what life can be like. And I know recently I've got a client, we're actually working with him next week. He's in the dental space. And one of the things he shared with me is the fact that he and his wife, their son, who's 14, their goal is to prep this business so it can be bought.
Yep.
Okay. and they're going to take a year off traveling the world as a family before he leaves for college. Now that is I resonate with that deeply. My son Zach just turned 18 last Saturday. I just came back from a fishing trip up north.
So cool.
We are about to be empty nesters, and we technically are in 10 days from today. And yeah, he's going to be going off living in the wilderness for 80 days with no phones, no technology, with a group. It's kind of like Outward Bound. It's called Knowles. And hiking from Oregon all the way down to Arizona. You're laughing. And
no, I'm laughing because there was a guy who in November of 2019 went on a sailboat with no connectivity, and his goal was to be out for 6 months. And he came back in April of 2020, and that everyone met him at the shore and told him how the world had changed in 6 months. And it was like his reaction was like, wait, whoa, I go on a sailboat for 6 months and now there's no So I just thought, I wonder, and I was laughing as I go, I wonder what things are going to be like. How long is it? 3 months?
Yeah.
So I think, I wonder, 3 months, that takes us past November. I mean, think about how the world, we haven't even talked about current events.
Vote, and he's not going to vote for pick a turd, any turd.
So we were talking about the world before we did this show. It was funny because Mike and I were just bantering, and I didn't realize we were still doing a sound check with my team. But closer,
turn it down just a little bit.
So this is how I
always say you want to.
He was trying to give
you want to point your microphone to your noise hole so my ear holes can hear it.
He was trying to give it to me in a. It's like with my wife. I'll be at a party and my wife's like, and I'll like. And she'll go like, I have mustard over here, and she'll just be like this, and I'm like, what do I have? Mustard right here? I don't do that. I can't do instruction. Sorry about that. Anyway, it's interesting because we were talking about this world. We were also talking about the election, and interestingly enough, the conversation we're having right now is in direct contrast to the way at which both parties are going about their political approach. Both parties right now are saying, here's what you want. Let me tell you what you want. Whereas the rest of America is like, you know what? I don't feel like I'm being heard right now.
I'll even go so far as to say they're in a giant, here's what you don't want. Let me instill and create even more outrage.
That's exactly right.
Which is so asinine. It's like these people are so undeserving of any support at all. It's just abominable.
I mean, if you read, you and I both read Power versus Force, David Hawkins' book. And if you read, people actually get stronger as you move towards love and empathy. People actually get weaker, physically weaker, as you move towards fear and anger. And our national conversation is literally weakening people physically. It's no wonder why people are getting sick right now. That's where our conversation is. So sometime, Mike, one of these days, someone's going to step up and make this thing, turn this conversation back up to empathy and understanding. But it starts with an understanding of where someone's desires are, what they're afraid of, what they want deeply inside of them, and bringing them to a place where they can do that. So
yeah,
I love it, man. I'm going to connect chat real quick.
Let's do it.
Gina said, glad there's a replay. I needed to hear this from the beginning. And Gene thought my impression of Yoda was the best one, he said. So I like it. I like it. All right. And David, take a note, says, what are the dangers you're facing right now? What else? Find out what they believe they can't do it and diagnose the problem. All right. I think you were in question number 4. And when we went off on that little tangent, but it was perfectly 100% connected, because again, a lot of our problems can be solved, not just in business, not just in the country, but in the world by asking someone, what is it that they really, really want?
Yeah.
What are they open to?
Yeah. And here's the God honest truth is what everyone really, really wants deep inside is they want a plan. They want clarity.
Yeah.
So if you want to really resonate with someone, you have to give them a vision, clarity, a blueprint, followed by a timeline, and really the cost. Now the cost
Can I
just about the money?
I want to go to the cost, but you just said something about a timeline. And this is one of the biggest questions I get. People say, how soon am I going to be successful? How do you answer that? Because I have a difficult time judging. I always know they're going to be successful. I don't know if it's going to be 2 months from now or 3 or 5 months from now based on the markets responding. What is your approach to the time?
Well, so here's what I've been doing lately. again, with varying degrees and level of success. And this is because this is when I really run into the thinking limitations and the coachability of an individual, which is their willingness to let go of past illusions and traumas that are preventing them from getting there in the first place.
Yeah.
So let's just say that is a turd cookie, okay, that must be swallowed at some point.
Because
But, yeah.
if they didn't have that, they would take what you said, implement it, and see almost immediate success.
Or whatever timeline that is.
Yeah.
But here's what I have
go to the turd
found
cookie.
is, the turd cookie. So the answer, here's what I do now. I create bite-sized chunks, success chunks that I know I can control. And so, for example, I'll use what I'm currently delivering in phase 1 of every project. So the big promise that I have for someone is we're going to work together, and I call it Vision Day. So it's where we do a session where we get together and figure out what we're going to do. You're going to walk away in 90 minutes with clarity, a blueprint, a timeline, and specific deliverables. And I've already painted a picture, which is usually a this or this or this. So 3 options. So they're already like, yeah, I want that. Okay. But that's where we break it down, and there's some more data gathering necessary. And then inside of a quarter, but it really happens inside of 2 to 3 days, we're going to figure out the new you. We're going to create a new offer that's going to be 3 to 10 times more than you're currently charging now.
Price
So,
wise.
we've got this really fascinating client in India, of all places. He's an architect, very successful. And he's right now charging between $75,000 and $100,000 for what he does. And we crafted $1 million offer for him.
Wow.
Which was like, kind of blew my own mind, but we got there because we rethought who his audience really is. And so inside of this evolution, we're not crafting an offer and going directly to a customer. And the clients he wants to speak to are like royalty.
Mhm.
They're in, let's say, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Jordan, big money families.
Chula Vista.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, right over there. And it's right. Yeah, you're bad. But then we figured out who the real audience is. It turns out some of his connections, they're multi-billionaires, some of the wealthiest families in India, who introduced him to right fit people. In any case, inside of quarter 1, we have a specific deliverable, and we have a vision of what that looks like, and his own evolution as a human being. So a complete redefinition. And usually what this involves is, creating a book, creating the offer, all the messaging. It can be an article that gets published in Entrepreneur Magazine or whatever, and the sales tools necessary to achieve that. Because again, what everyone really, really needs, they're horrible at packaging themselves, positioning themselves as the new authority, giving themselves permission to see themselves as the future-paced version of themselves.
That's right. That's right.
Or their business. It's all self-worth. It's self-esteem that stands in the way.
Yeah, I mean, so his setting, if he's a $75,000 to $100,000 guy, his view of himself is a $75,000 to $100,000 guy. I mean, you're getting, as you're watching this, you're getting the result you're getting in your business right now is the exact way you think about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first step, like you're doing, Mike, is creating not only the perception in the marketplace of this person as $1 million person, but the perception in his head that he's $1 million person. Now, the interesting thing is it takes literally $1 million deal, and all of a sudden that resets for somebody in their head.
Right.
So it is literally a one deal problem. So I always tell people, like, get the first one, because the first one's going to define all the rest of the ones after that. So it's really, really interesting how you do that. It's perception in the world, but also the person's perception in their head, which you cannot overcome that unless you cannot get to where you want to unless you overcome that. So anyway, back to
this is all fairly advanced psychology.
Yeah, it's
when you
great.
get down to it.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Mike Semmel just asked, I see in
this is
chat.
a great question. I want to pull this up.
Okay.
And by the way, I'd like to answer some questions. We've got about 8 minutes left, but I really like this question. He said, of all the people you've trained or coached, I want to answer this one too. how many actually implemented. And by the way, this is coming from a person that I consider one of the best implementers I've ever worked with. Mike has quietly done basically everything we recommended that he's done. And every step along the way, it's almost like success just happens to come magically to Mike, but you realize it's not magic. He's implementing over and over and over again. So what do you think?
Micro implementation. So this is why, if I'm absolutely transparent now, and again, this isn't the reason why I did it, but it's one of the reasons. So when you and I had, and we were doing the You Everywhere Now business, the products we sold were essentially Publish and Profit, how to write a book and become a bestseller, Consult and Profit, which is how to coach, consult, advise, and build a business and close your first $10,000 deal. We had Create and Profit, how to create products and do information publishing, that kind of thing. We also had Speak and Profit, so how to speak and sell. And then we also did that other thing, the
Go Live and Profit.
Yeah, Celebrity Boot Camp.
Celebrity Boot Camp, yeah.
Basically, fast forward, media train. Now, in each one of those,
information marketing business, pure and simple.
It was. So our funnel was sell a $2,000 product, $5,000 live event, and then move towards a $25,000 mastermind. Now, in all those, what's important is we did a certain amount with you, but it's really up to you to implement. And look, at that price level, we had a certain number of people who came in and they had what it takes. They'd done their inner work, so they were coachable and implementable, or they'd have some team members and could visualize themselves at the finish line. And other people aren't quite there yet, and they struggle along the way, and they may or may not complete. So getting back to what Mike talked about, when I reinvented myself this time around, I said, I would rather go narrower and deeper and guide right fit people through a process to a destination. And so what I'm able to do now is inside of 2 to 3 days, I can give someone something that they probably struggled with for 2 to 5 years. They couldn't possibly get it done in less than 6 months and probably 18 to 24 months inside 2 or 3 days. Okay. Now it requires an enormous amount of effort, a lot of flexing of vendors and relationships and connections. But going back to how many have actually implemented, this is like having a strike force team. It's like team 6 of specialists focused entirely on you. Impossible to do in a group or outside of a one-on-one. Now, that is a dangerous business model as well. Some people will be like, well, that's not scalable. Why would you want to do that when you've got an information publishing business? And it's because marketing now in the information publishing business, as you know, can be very expensive and challenging, and doing ads. And let's face it, social media, for the most part, is a giant steaming toilet filled with stinky turds.
I said the other day, social media is basically like, you know, back in the day, people used to write on bathroom walls. It's basically the electronic version of writing on bathroom walls.
Yeah, except
you can't have a good time when you call anyone on social media. That's the only difference.
True, but the problem is to the left of you and to the right of you are 2 broken toilets, and you have to smell that while you're writing on the bathroom wall.
8, 6, 7, 5, 3. Sorry, for a good time call. I'm sorry. So
anyway, but back to answering the question is, I will say it's 100% of implementation with the new model. Whereas in our world, I think we had unusually high implementation just because of the way we did things and the way you're doing things now. But you've got to, I think the key is, and look, there's something I'm going to talk to you about during lunch today that I'm going to dabble a little bit in the space just because there's an interesting opportunity that got thrown my way. There we go.
Jim House.
Yeah. Hey, Jim.
Steaming toilet. What's up, Jim? Good to see you, buddy.
All right.
I want to take a stab at this, Mike, and then I'm going to have you wrap up the show. So Mike, so roughly 452 clients I've worked with over the last 10 years. The first 100, the success was so low that it made me flee the business for a little while. And the last 100, so let's assume, I don't know the exact numbers, but let's assume the first 100, the success was about 20%. And the last 100, the success was about 80%.
Right.
there was a little bit of a difference in the fact that I grew and I knew more. And nowadays, when I tell someone to do this, this will work, it'll work. But the biggest difference between the first 100 and the second 100 isn't so much me, it's the people who came in. And so that's why I say the truly the most successful consultants are the most successful because of their process of how they choose their clients more than how they go about getting or delivering for their clients. You give me, I did an interview.
Words never said.
I did an interview with Marie Carmen Pizarro 2 weeks ago, Mike. I could have, Marie Carmen came in to work with both of us. I could have stood there on my head spinning nickels for 5 hours and she would have gone out and have been successful. Now, we gave her good tools that got her to this thing faster. Mike Semmel, who asked the question, Mike, we could have given you any of 10 different pieces of advice and you would have figured out a way to make it happen. That's the kind of person that you are, because successful people become more successful. Now, a great coach or advisor can get you faster to your destination. That's what you hire someone like that for. But as a consultant or coach or advisor, by the way, those of you inside a Top Gun consultant, one of the very first exercises we're going to do together is what I call the ideal client exercise. It's where you define who is the ideal person you want to work with, and then you go and find those people. So it's really electronically writing on bathroom walls. Yeah. Boom. So we have 3 minutes left, Mike. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to wrap up the show with a big takeaway, and then we're going to just hang out and chat for a second and say hello to all of y'all. Make sure you hit the like button, by the way. That's all I'll say about that. Good. Over to you.
Like, subscribe. So I'd say the key thing to do is this: reach out. And, one of the things that I've taught for years is the money phone strategy, which is if you want to make some money right now, reach out to all your existing clients that you have. And also what I would say are your advocates or ambassadors, people who know you, like you, trust you, who, if they knew about what you're thinking about doing next, call them up. Now, the way to do this is to reach out and say, hey, I'm working on something new, and I'd love your advice. And then you start the conversation and you go through what we just talked about. So tell me a little bit about what stands in your way. And if you and I were meeting a year or 3 years from now, what would life look like? Then you ask the dangers question, the opportunities, the strengths. Ask those. It's about a 20 to 40 minute conversation, and just listen. And from there, you'll say, one of the things that I'm working on is blah, blah, blah. I'm working with people who want to whatever that may happen to be. And it's so fascinating because someone will paint themselves inside a movie. And because you've been a great question asker, they are imagining that you can help them get there. Right. And when I was stuck a couple of years ago, and I knew that I was going to leave info marketing, it was Dan Sullivan who told me, go out and have some DOS conversations with people.
Interesting.
And I called up about 10 folks. I wasn't pitching. I wasn't trying to close anything. He said, just call them up and ask some questions. And he said, what to do next will be absolutely apparent and obvious to you.
Amazing.
It is.
So you got a personal breakthrough by asking other people questions. Not by them asking you questions, by them you ask. It's an incredible way to end this show about asking questions. It's very powerful.
Yeah. And I will just go on record as saying, based on that, so what stands in most people's ways is just getting started or not having the courage and feeling they're not quite ready yet to talk about blank. And the truth is, the way to start a business or reinvent a business isn't about you. It's about talking to people.
That's right.
Now, you don't want to talk to you can't be talking to the broken. That is not a business. It's not a market. If you talk to the broken, you're going to wind up broken too. That's what charity is for. And business is not charity unless you're in the nonprofit industry.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's really, really important. And if you're wondering, well, who, if I don't have, it's like, go through your phone and look through your database and turn it off so you can examine the list. And if you have to, go through other lists of contacts you have, even if it's in LinkedIn or in whatever, I guarantee you there's at least 10 people inside there, and they're the ones to initiate conversations with. And there's nothing complex or challenging about this. There really isn't. And that's where the gold is. And I'll tell you, I built another multi-million-dollar business in practically no time that started out by doing this exact same thing. So if anyone says, well, how do I get started? It's talk to people, business owners who are check writers, and ask them questions without you having to insert yourself inside their dream. You're in data gathering mode. And that's where all the solutions are.
It's awesome, man. Couple great comments. Damien, thank you for your awesome comment. Let's chat this week, dude. Jim House, good to see you as well. Thank you, Gina and Barry. Heading in that direction, man. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mike Koenigs. You are amazing. You're amazing. Thank you for your time and for your attention. Come back next Tuesday. I've got an interview you're not going to want to miss. It's about a guy who's basically gone from 0 into 5-figure months simply by having text message conversations. That's it. I love you and I like you. EdTalks Live is